So this is the past life of VTubers, slowly fading taboo.
I know how risky this video is and how stupid it is to make it, but I think the topic itself is still an interesting
Yes, it is a very interesting one.
And who better than the one that experienced its repercussions firsthand, huh?
Yes,
anyway, the
he got some real serious first-hand experience.
Has become a core part of the VTubing culture. In fact, it always has. For the VTubers that don't like it, it's an occupational hazard. A risk that, whether you like it or not, you will automatically take whenever you join a big or small corpo. For the VTubers that do like it or don't really care about it, the concept is insurance. A guarantee that your fans will find you in your other accounts and can monetize yourself there so you can earn a bit of money on the side without the agency taking a cut. That is if their contract doesn't have an exclusivity clause. For the fans, it's either a subject you're very much curious about because you'd like to see more of your favorite VTubers, some just want to find dirt, and others absolutely hate the idea and the concept in any and all circumstance.
I mean, I can understand the people who hate it.
What is the concept of past life or alters or roommates in the first place? A VTuber's past life is the content creator who the VTuber used to be back before they became who they are now. The VTuber industry has made it so that when you're a VTuber, you play a character and put on a kayfabe. This makes the idea of
the kayfabe is very important to a lot of people.
Interesting. But at the same time, this made it taboo to keep up with the character and maintain the illusion and to not have information that the VTubers don't want to be out there. Past life accounts and content are suggested to be privated for all sorts of reasons, either for privacy reasons or exclusivity clauses or other contractual concerns.
There are a lot of concerns with that, yes, absolutely.
Usually, it's for tradition. Even when a lot of VTubers don't really have a
people know that this was Nina Kosaka. Okay, people know that already, alright? That's known.
To private or become inactive in their PL accounts, they still kinda do it because it's the standard here in the industry. But how and where that standard originated
that was
from
her.
is something of a mystery in of itself.
That's her.
With the closest, most ancient reason being to keep up the immersion. People just
the immersion! Mista is K9 Kudo, people know that as well.
At least those in the mainstream media like Twitter or YouTube or Twitch, because everywhere else, it's pretty much fair game. That was the case for a long time, with really only 4chan or underground communities of the industry being the ones to openly talk about it. However, in recent times, the taboo is kinda disappearing. I guess it's shifting.
It is. It really is.
Adoptions with obvious and well-known figures. People just started.
People know who they are in VShojo.
And circles, even in places like Twitter and YouTube, they just started being okay. The concept of VTuber face reveals have also become something of a trend, with many big VTubers openly showing their faces and public appearance all over their social media without really batting an eye. To many
That's on the EN side more than anything.
To everyone else, they don't really care or actually do like it, especially if they find out that the VTuber they like happens to be as cute or beautiful or handsome as the fans pictured them to be. Again, the past life thing is fundamentally a Japanese traditional VTuber concept.
Yes, it is. It's very traditional.
Their VTubers purely as a person in character, kayfabe to be maintained, an anime girl or anime guy brought to life that you can interact with. But as the EN side of the community matures and evolves and starts growing its own culture, a lot of them have started to not really give a shit about kayfabe or some traditional.
I still kind of give a crap about my kayfabe and my identity.
Sanctity to the general public eventually, and whether that's a good or a bad thing. Again,
because like I am a cute squirrel boy. That's all you need to know.
This is gonna go in the future. People aren't even being tongue-in-cheek about it anymore, like they used to be. People just outright drop the alters of whoever the VTubers were in public and mainstream places. These days, the new rule seems to just not talk about PLs in the area that the VTuber might normally frequent or the VTuber's platform itself. Their Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Yeah, they know that everybody knows, just don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Do not ever mention their past life in their current life streams, in their current life Twitter, in their current life social media. Please don't do that. That's harassment almost. Just don't do that. Just enjoy the current person that they are.
About that kind of thing. While, of course, a lot of VTubers out there want their PLs to remain buried, a lot of them also don't give a shit. Or in fact, would want you to find their PLs or next incarnation. Actually, that's pretty much the reason why a lot of small corpo VTubers get graduated or terminated, because they funnel fans into their next avatar.
Okay.
There's a pro and cons to unveiling one's.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense, because what ends up happening when you do that, when you do the funneling people into your own avatar, like your own new, old, whatever avatar, the issue with that one is that you're taking money from the corpo that you're a part of. So that is frowned upon big time.
Past life, both for the VTubers and the fans. Pros and cons that I'll be explaining now. As a fan, knowing your Oshi's past life can give you a deeper appreciation for the VTubers that you like. It fosters a deeper, more personal connection with your favorite VTubers. Adds context to a lot of their behaviors and actions, lets you know an entire side and story to them that they can't exactly
Everyone knows who Gura's old one was.
Elevate your experience
so
as a
yeah.
VTuber fan, if you care about your Oshis that much anyway. you would understand them better, learn to appreciate them deeper, all those kinds of things. For VTubers, they can enjoy the fact that if they graduate, a portion of their fans will always support them in their next lives. It's basically insurance in case something bad happens. You're always going to be
I mean, that is kind of insurance, yes.
Scale, especially if you are in a corpo, small or otherwise. But this pro also applies to fans, because a VTuber's career is something of a revolving door. Your favorite VTubers right now will eventually graduate, but that won't necessarily mean that they'll disappear entirely.
Which Nina Kosaka didn't.
Graduate or become inactive,
she did disappear.
Again. If they are a corpo VTuber who will join another agency or become indie, you're bound to bump into them eventually.
Eventually.
Hell, even if they turn
K9 Kuro, he suffered a lot, you're right, yes.
An actor or a voice actor. I mean, if a big corpo agency or a darling of a small corpo gets graduated these days, all you have to do is wait for the next V-Shoujo announcement a couple months later. For indies who will join a corpo, well then, you just got yourself a very interesting story for future fans to eventually find out. Fans that'll be more than willing to support you now, wherever you go, even if you do return to your old persona eventually. Cons? Well, the most obvious con is the privacy concerns, especially if you did not hide information well enough. Information that you're not comfortable letting the world know. Although, a loophole
doxing is
when
bad.
The VTuber has done some really fucked up shit before and hopes to bury all of that in the past without facing the consequences. This opens
there
up
are way too many new VTubers, yes, very true.
Not a VTuber should be responsible for the sins of their past lives, because a lot of VTubers actually do have some relatively bad past that they are looking to get away from. That's not
that
bad.
Totally makes sense.
If the past involves personal regrets and trauma and content you are very much burnt out or unhappy of, reincarnating allows you to be free from that. A second chance.
That's true. Give yourself a second chance, but you're gonna have aunties that are gonna come after you. You absolutely are.
To redo everything and shape your experience to be better this time around. But if that past involves stuff like grooming and being a general douche or other forms of morally bankrupt behavior, that's when this conversation becomes interesting. But hey,
you're not gonna get escape from it. You're not gonna escape.
In any case, this con more so applies to VTubers who might have overshared to their fanbase or did content that they aren't exactly proud of. Or if they have skeletons in their closets, that's actually grounds for the internet mob to burn them at the stake. But for many content creators who doesn't have much to reveal, like you've never published sensitive information that's out there, this con doesn't really apply to you. In fact, you'd be reaping some fat fucking rewards. The other con for the VTuber is that basically, fans will still expect you and want you to be the VTuber they once liked.
Okay, that's an issue. Yeah, that's the issue.
It's not exactly
I want you to like me now, not me before.
That Koko was much entertaining than her, or that Henya isn't the same anymore, or whoever isn't whatever they used to be. Sometimes VTubers re-debut under a new name to live out a new life or for personal reasons that their fans may disagree with. It could be the volatility of their own fan base, burnout of their own content, maybe they've pigeonholed themselves into doing things they may not be comfortable doing anymore, and they can't escape that label.
That's the thing, when you're powerful, when you're popular enough, your past is gonna follow you. And also, like they said, if they really enjoyed your past and you want to recreate yourself, fully reincarnate into a new being, a new personality, a new everything, they're gonna be like, oh, I liked you better when you were your old one. It's like, well then, just watch my old VODs, I guess. Jesus, I'm not gonna be that person now. This is me being different, you know?
When such VTubers re-debut, a few old fans will not be nice about it, and that's gonna ruin anyone's day, I imagine. At the end of the day, different people have different takes about past lives. There's a camp where they are okay with it as long as it's in the appropriate place and you don't share actual sensitive information like addresses and phone numbers among other things. Some people who think it's a universally bad thing no matter the circumstances and will not think otherwise. But me personally, I am in the former camp. I think studying these kinds of stories and analyzing this culture in the industry is a valuable thing to do if you'd like to study and consume VTubers as a culture, and not just for entertainment and escapism. It's good for analyzing why certain trends work, how a VTuber became who they are. Generally, it's good to study the industry. From what I've seen, most people that are very much open about PLs don't really give a shit. It's just one piece of interesting information lodged in their brain.
It's a bit of lore, I guess.
It doesn't really detract from their experience of that VTuber. In fact, again, it heightens the experience. I suppose people are just going to have to balance the intellectual discussions around past lives to ensure that they don't go overboard with their digging, or talk about it in the appropriate platform. Yeah, Me personally, that's the thing.
You talk about it on the appropriate platform, like I said. Don't talk about it on their streams. Don't talk about it on their social media. Leave their past lives in, you know, Reddit or whatever. Don't talk to, like, Mume. If you know who Mume was, I know who Takanashi Kiara is IRL. I know who Callie is IRL. I know all those things. I'm not going to mention it on their, you know, I watch them as well. So I'm not going to go be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I know you, blah, blah, blah. How's your, you know, this or that? I'm like, no, you don't do that.
Misconstrue the discussion of these types of topics as doxing here in the VTuber industry. But I think there has to be a distinction made between talking about a VTuber's past life versus dropping sensitive and identifiable information of them.
True.
However, I do recognize that that can often turn out to be a slippery slope, because unfortunately, some of those sensitive information can be found from their past lives if the VTuber slept up before. with some people finding that kind of information accidentally or without really even trying. At the end of the day, there's a reason why this is such a sensitive
Mano Alo, we all know who she is now. Delutaya.
Some harmful consequences to both.
I say it because I want you to follow her.
Whether they're fans
I'm weird
or
that way.
VTubers themselves. And the rewards aren't consistent
Yes.
for the VTubers too.
She's doing well now, which I'm very, very happy
whether or
about.
not the VTubers themselves would like to have fans follow them in their other accounts, or if they've done some bad shit before, or if they've privated enough of their personal and sensitive information. There's not much a fan can get by talking about past lives aside from the pro that I talked about earlier, and that it's inherently interesting and curious, and I guess that's why a lot of people don't like them. Many people would argue that if there's not much to gain for people to talk about it, and more often than not will actually have some consequences for the VTuber, then why talk about it at all?
It's
In
just
any case,
curiosity.
that's this video
Curiosity
for the topic of
does it.
past lives. I hope it's an interesting food for thought to get your gears up in your brain going. I'd like to know what you think, so leave a comment down below. But
Like, that's the thing for me. Past lives are very interesting because you get to see where the VTuber came from, how they developed. Like, if it's a past life where, you know, they've been, I don't know, someone else as an indie VTuber, and then they did, you know, a bunch of interesting things, and then all of a sudden now they're doing all this wonderful stuff now. It's like, you get to see where they came from. Now, like you said, if there's personally identifiable information from their past life, it's a very slippery slope. A lot of new, quote-unquote, new VShojo VTubers, people know who they are. People know who K9 Kuro was in the past. People know who the Matara-kan, whatever her name is, was in the past. People know who Henya was in the past. People know who Kei-san was in the past. We all know those things. But if you're smart, you don't go into their actual streams and be like, hey, you know, Kaicho or whatever it is, it ends up being, for whoever it ends up being, you know, how are you doing? No, you use their current life. Please do that. That's just being nice, being kind, because this is who they are now. Not being followed by the ghosts of the past. That's what's very important. Thank you so much for watching. On the YouTube side, of course, like and subscribe and all that other fun stuff. Appreciate you.